You would love it if your teen would take ownership and responsibility of his schedule and education. But when he doesn't do it your way, then it feels really risky because it feels like he might fail. And if he fails, it feels like you're failing. And you hate that. Our brains hate that feeling of failure. So instead of letting him figure out and fail and struggle a little bit, then you swoop in and try to rescue him. But that doesn't feel great either because you end up hovering and pestering and nitpicking. And you end up taking on all of the ownership and responsibility instead of accomplishing the task that you originally set out to have, which was for him to take ownership of it. If you want to stop doing this, then stick around because I have a few questions that you can ask yourself to help you get into the right mindset of really releasing the reins and allowing your teen to take ownership of what is truly theirs so that you can take ownership of what's actually yours. My name is Emily Brown, and I'm a certified Catholic life coach for Catholic homeschool moms who want to fall more deeply in love with their life and this call from God to homeschool their children. If you like what you're hearing in this video, then I want to invite you to please like, subscribe, and ring that bell so that you can get notified every single week when I release new content that's geared specifically to your Catholic homeschool lifestyle. So when it's 11:30 in the morning and you notice that your son hasn't accomplished hardly anything for the day and he has to leave for practice by 2 o'clock, it suddenly starts to feel very urgent that he gets his work done. And you no longer allow him to have ownership over getting it done and getting himself to practice. Instead, you start to think about all of the things that are going to happen coming up that are going to be very uncomfortable. Like you having to explain to the coach that the son isn't coming to practice again because he didn't get his schoolwork done again. And of course, that feels like it's all on you, like you failed, like you are letting the team down. But we need to take a big old pause right here. You would prefer to avoid all of that discomfort later in the afternoon, so instead you're creating a tremendous amount of discomfort here in this moment between you and your son. But none of this is teaching him to take ownership of his schoolwork and his education and being responsible to his coaches. Instead, it's teaching him that schoolwork is just something that you need to slog through so that you can get to the fun things, the better part, the most important parts of life. It's not teaching him how to actually take ownership of his education here in this moment. Okay, so how do we do this? There's a few great questions you can ask yourself to really help you detach what is yours to own from what your child needs to own. The first question to ask yourself is, what is my role right now? Really and truly, what is your role in this moment? Are you being the teacher or are you a mentor or a coach? Are you being a facilitator or a judge? What is your role in this moment? Get very, very clear on that because once you know what your role is, then you can start saying yes to certain things and no to other things that don't fit into that role. The second question to ask yourself is, what am I owning? Are you trying to own his potential failure? Is that really your job? What is the worst case scenario of him failing in this moment? Like really like instead of zooming out into this catastrophic place where he doesn't get into college because he didn't get his work done today, like, come back to this moment. What is it that he's doing in this moment that could potentially cause him to fail? And what is the potential worst case scenario of him not getting his work done today? And then what's the best case scenario of him failing in this moment? The potential best case scenario is that he learns, that he grows, and that he begins to take ownership from this moment forward because he struggled in this moment. So, what kind of growth, what kind of potential could you be hindering and preventing by stepping in too soon? I want you to think about a baby bird who falls out of the nest when it's first starting to learn how to fly. If the mother bird swoops in and rescues him, he's never going to learn that he can spread his wings and embrace the descent. So, what is it that you are trying to prevent? And what is the potential growth? What is that potential strength that your child could be embracing instead if you just allow them to do what it is that they need to do in that moment? Another example is a butterfly has to push and has to struggle against the walls of the chrysalis in order to break through and be strong enough for the world outside. If you go and break it open, then it's not going to be strong enough and it will die outside of the chrysalis. These are just two examples of the natural world that could be reflected in our own relationships with our own children. Okay, so ask yourself, what growth could I potentially be preventing if I step in too fast or too soon for my child? How long are you willing to let them fail or struggle with before you step in? This is such an interesting question to ask yourself. How long are you willing to sit in that discomfort of allowing them to struggle and fail a little bit before you are willing to step in? And what's your reason for that answer? What discomfort are you trying to avoid by stepping in? What growth could you be experiencing in that discomfort as you watch your child fail or struggle? What could God be inviting you into? How could you be going deeper with the Lord and opening up and embracing that discomfort, embracing that suffering that He is wanting to walk through with you? He's right there next to you. He wants to do this with you, but how is it that you could be preventing that growth in yourself and ignoring His will for you by stepping in and rescuing your child too soon? What are you actually in charge of, and how can you have ownership of that and that alone? And finally, how can you show up with your child with love and support and encouragement every single step of the way? Again, like that loving Father, like the Holy Spirit who's right there with you, wants to walk through this growth and this struggle alongside of you, but isn't going to drag you through it. How can you show up like that for your child in this moment? If these questions are difficult, then please take them to prayer. Ask God to reveal to you what He's inviting you into as you experience the struggle and growth with your son. And if you would like help tailored specifically to your unique lifestyle, then I want to invite you to come join me in the Happy Holy Mama membership. This is my life coaching program for Catholic homeschool moms who want to fall more deeply in love with their life and have support through all the seasons of life and homeschooling. In the program, you learn mind management tools and skills, how to have emotional regulation, time management, Catholic homeschool mindset, and so much more. And then you have weekly coaching to help take all of those skills and tools you're learning and apply them to your unique life. You can find all the details for my program at fiatlifecoaching.com/membership. And there, of course, there's going to be a link to that below this video. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you in the membership. God bless.